I got a chance to play in the Battlefield 6 open beta this last weekend, and hopefully you had a chance as well too, because it truly does feel like a return to form for this amazing franchise. We have a lot to talk about. We'll go over all of the awesome stuff, as well as some of the negatives. All news article source for this video will be linked down in the description below. Like, sub, do all the YouTube stuff. It's greatly appreciated. Let's get into it. The beta was huge. We're talking about player counts roughly at 500,000 concurrent players at one point on Steam. And this is coming from Steam database, but the peak was 521,079. We're talking franchise records being smashed, and on PC, it even managed to pull ahead of Call of Duty. That is a massive win right out of the gate. So that's really showing how big the hype is around Battlefield 6. Now, this is just on PC via Steam. We also have to consider that there are a number of players who are also playing on EA's own launcher. Heathens, I know, right? But let's also not forget about our friends on the console side of gaming as well. And, you know, we don't have numbers for that, but I can imagine it was a pretty significant amount of players. And the overall consensus from what I've been seeing online on threads, things like that, and also my own experience from playing, there's a definite feeling that Battlefield is trying to go back to its roots. A lot of players are saying that it feels like a solid mix of Battlefield 3 and 4. And honestly, like, those were the last two Battlefields I played prior to this one, and I can agree with that. We're talking about large-scale conflicts, the focus on squad play, and the return of some serious environmental destruction that we've all known to love in Battlefield and really miss in the last couple iterations. Seeing those buildings crumble just never gets old, right? But it wasn't just the scale that got people hyped. The core gunplay, the sound design have been getting a ton of praise. Many players, including myself, are finding the shooting to feel really satisfying and snappy, more so than the prior titles. That hit registration seems to be in a much better place now. And the sound of those weapons firing and explosions going off, like, it is immersive as hell. There were so many cinematic moments in my time playing the game, and they just constantly play it out. As you're running to your next objective, there's helicopters flying overhead, jeeps flying by next to you. You know, you've seen all these soldiers like pushing forward and buildings exploding and crumbling, you know, piece by piece. And next thing you know, this tank crashes through a wall to your left and you're dead. We also got to play with some new mechanics this time around as well. I was mostly playing as a support class, the medic, and the best addition is the fact that you can now drag down players to, you know, somewhere safe to revive them. Before, you used to lock into a revive animation wherever the down player was. Now you can actively drag them behind cover as you're trying to recover them. That is awesome. And I didn't know this was a thing, but I did see online that you can hitch a ride on the back of a Jeep. So the Jeep isn't just limited to the 4 seats and the turret gun. Players can now like hang out onto the back of the Jeep, and that's awesome. You know, that provides more opportunities to get troops to the front lines faster, or maybe even allow for quick rotations going from one point to the next or one objective to the next. I can go on and on about all the things that I loved about Battlefield 6, but as much as there was to love, this wouldn't be a Battlefield beta without some bugs and areas of improvement, really. And there were definitely a few big ones that the community pointed out, and I can agree with some of these things. Well, let's get into that next. One of the biggest complaints that I've been seeing across the whole board is maps and their flow. While the maps look amazing and they're visually impressive, a lot of players are feeling that they're a little too small for the amount of players that can play in a match. Matches can have up to 128 players playing at once, 64 players on both sides. And this seems to be almost a contradiction to the criticisms that Battlefield 2042 received, where the maps felt too empty. They were too big. In Battlefield 6, it seems like you're just running constantly into chaotic situations, choke points that are just going off, and you're getting shot in every direction and dying very quickly. We'll talk about that a little later, time to kill. But anyhow, it's less strategic in sort of the maneuvering and the gameplay, and more about surviving this constant meat grinder in some areas of the maps. I kind of feel this to a point. I can definitely agree that it did feel like a meat grinder. You spawn in and you move towards an objective with your squad, and it's this constant cycle of rinse and repeat. You're dying and trying to help your supporting teammates there, and it's just constant chaos. Though I would say that we only had access to a couple of maps, and maybe these ones are designed to be a bit smaller. I do hope that we have some maps that maybe are a little bigger, just to help balance that feeling of constant chaos, and introducing some more moments of like traversal and ramping up to moments of conflict. Additionally, I kind of want to say as well that it's been a while since I played. It was Battlefield 4 was the last one that I played, but I've always felt Battlefield feels like this. It's more about like this feeling of being a part of a war, and war can be chaotically dangerous. There is no. I mean, the maps are designed to be somewhat balanced, so that way you have cover options, things like that. But this isn't Call of Duty. There is no safe spot, essentially, right? A building can collapse above you, and there could be snipers on a ridge who are watching every movement you make and just waiting for that right moment to take a shot at you. Anyhow, another major point of criticism I hinted at earlier was the time to kill. This is the moment that you engage with another player and you start shooting, right? And the amount of time it takes to down them. A lot of players are saying that they're getting deleted instantly, just way too often. And it feels unexpectedly fast. Like you can go from full health to dead in just a moment. The developers have actually acknowledged this, and they're already looking into it, which is a really good sign. They're listening, they're paying attention, and reacting to the feedback from this beta. Hopefully, they can find that sweet spot where it feels challenging but not instantly punishing. To be honest, like this is a hard one to judge. In my experience, the chaos of gunfights can become overwhelming, and to me it just feels like the life-threatening sort of dangers of war that are always present in Battlefield. If you've ever played Arma, this wasn't Arma levels of milsim realism. Like, if you've played Arma, you know. But I think it felt pretty close. It felt appropriate. I bet the devs have analytics on this, so we'll see how they handle the time to kill sort of criticisms coming from the community. And then there's weapon balancing. There are definitely some guns that are standing out as just being a little too powerful. That shotgun, right? That M87A1 shotgun feels like it's firing mini nukes at me, and it's just, I was always on the receiving end of it. Players are also reporting that some of the assault rifles are feeling a bit like laser beams when you use certain attachments on those guns. And speaking of recoil, the non-existence of recoil, the general recoil model and the attachment system are also being discussed heavily within the community. Some players feel that the attachment system just makes it a little too easy to turn any gun into a no recoil headshot machine. Weapon balancing is always going to be an ongoing puzzle for the developers. Really, it's not about making it perfect for launch, but just getting close to it. The meta is always going to be there, right? Players are always going to figure out what is the best gun to use in this current meta, this current season, this patch, whatever the current cycle is in Battlefield 6. And the devs will have to always rebalance. And really, I just hope that the developers can find something that feels close to some semblance of balance. Let's just hope that Battlefield 6 receives regular updates moving forward. The devs are listening, they're paying attention to the community. So long as they keep things somewhat balanced, I'm happy with that. And of course, it wouldn't be a Battlefield 6 game without some crazy vehicle shenanigans. The vehicle physics are a little wonky at times. My personal experience mostly is with the tanks. They feel very bouncy. They almost, it's like you're on a slinky of sorts, and it just doesn't feel quite right. And the Jeeps also feel a bit too bouncy as well. So let's hope that the developers can make these vehicles feel a little more weighty and just somewhat more satisfying, I guess, to ride in. All right, so let's talk about technical stuff. This was a beta, right? And it's expected to have some bugs and glitches. And of course, in typical fashion of Battlefield games, it delivered. While I personally had a relatively stable experience, a large number of PC players are reporting pretty bad performance issues and even huge FPS drops and hitches, even on high-end rigs. The PC platform just has so many variables. That said though, the devs have made optimization a key focus for the game moving forward. The list of acknowledged bugs is also pretty big. We saw issues with UI elements not working properly, such as the close map button bug. For me, the one I encountered all the time was deploying, even when a friendly squad member is out of danger. The deploy button doesn't work. Whether I'm hitting spacebar, which is the hotkey on PC, or sometimes I'm clicking on it. Most of the time clicking it resolved it, but I feel like the spacebar hotkey should be just as responsive. We also had animation glitches, players sinking into the ground after getting revived. That's a fun one. And all sorts of visual weirdness that would happen. As someone who's worked on video games, like polygon meshes sort of exploding into infinity. In rare cases, I saw that. Again, this is a Battlefield beta, so these things are kind of expected, but this also shows that the devs have a lot of work moving forward to get the game as stable as possible for its official release. And finally, let's touch on the ongoing issue of cheating. EA's new anti-cheat system reportedly blocked hundreds of thousands of accounts before the beta even launched, which is great to hear. However, some players have reported they're still running into cheaters, presumably people using wall hacks, and that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, when it comes to games like these, competitive shooters, the fight is ongoing to combat cheating. So hopefully this anti-cheat system will continue to improve moving forward. So, closing thoughts. What's the overall takeaway on the first weekend of Battlefield 6's open beta? It's a little mixed. If you look around on Reddit, online sites, yeah, it seems mixed, but honestly, I truly believe there is a lot of potential in this game. The core gameplay feels solid, and there's a definite, obvious return to form when it comes to Battlefield going back to its roots. However, there are a lot of issues. You know, the things we talked about, like the map design, the size in particular about these couple maps we've played so far. We do have a couple of new maps in next weekend's open beta test, so we'll have to sort of reserve judgment, I think, to see how that all feels. On top of that, though, the time to kill's a bit too quick. There's a lot of weapon balancing, and of course, the technical hiccups. The good news is that DICE is listening. They are actively listening to the community, acknowledging the feedback that they're getting, and even confirming that there are fixes coming along in a future patch for a lot of these things that we're discussing in this video. And to me, that level of engagement is important, especially when you consider I think the overall business strategy of this game being an ongoing sort of live service of sorts. I mean, you're paying $70 for the game's single player component, but in the future, I believe there's supposed to be a free multiplayer component. We'll have to see how that plays out, but this is the kind of stuff that the studio needs to do with their community. They need to be a part of it, listen, pay attention to the feedback, and react to it. Ultimately, the beta served its purpose. It gave us a taste of what Battlefield 6 is all about and what it's shaping up to be. I think a lot of players overall feel very positively about the game, and it also provided the developers with a ton of data, feedback, and things to work towards perfecting, or at least getting close to perfection for their official release. Whether they can address these concerns, we'll have to see, but I think things are looking good when, you know, I did participate in the closed beta prior to this, but just seeing how much has improved from that to this open beta is extremely positive. As for my personal experience, the only real negative was, yeah, I guess the meat grinder feeling I had whenever working towards an objective. But I don't know, man, maybe to me, those almost felt like the good fights. Just both teams fighting to hold that line, you know, and it's just this like tug of war until a tank rolls up and just ruins your day. But yeah, Battlefield 6 is looking promising, and I came away from this open beta highly impressed, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So, what were your experiences with the Battlefield 6 open beta this last weekend? What things are you super excited about? What makes you frustrated about it? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you all think. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more Grit Gaming content. And if you're looking for more, check out this recommended video right here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.